suffering with diabetes. If you have lost your provider, or if you need a provider for diabetic supplies, you may qualify to receive your diabetic testing supplies now with little or no out-of-pocket cost, regardless of your age. All you need is Medicare or private insurance to be potentially eligible. Call the Diabetes Solutions right now for details. Just takes a couple of minutes. Our friendly, knowledgeable agents will give you free, no-obligation information, handle all the insurance paperwork, and make sure your supplies are delivered directly to your door for free.
Call U.S. Medical Supply 24 hours a day. 800-597-9323. 800-597-9323. 800-597-9323. Call right now. 800-597-9323.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
Hello, everyone. My name is Angelo Rocha. As you can see me right now, if you're on social media, if you're watching live now or later, I'm the host of Vet for Vets, a show where I take veterans of all sorts of shapes and sizes, backgrounds, and lifestyles, and I sit down with them. I have a little chit-chat. I have a little conversation. I pretty much bullshit with them, and we discuss their life before, during, and after their military service. Today, I have with me an incredible former Marine. Technically, you're still a Marine. A Marine is always Marine for life, correct? Even though you got the long hair going. You look good, man. You look good.
Thank you.
So I had a guest on today, but sadly, she had to reschedule and cancel on me. It's not because she didn't want to come on the show. It's just because family stuff comes up. So, and I asked and I put a call out all on social media. Hey, I need a guest to cover for my friend who had to back out just today. And Danny Dober reached out to me and said, "Hey, I kind of think of a dog when I Doberman."
That's good. That's good.
Did they call you that? Did they call you that in the Marine Corps?
Yeah. Was it Dober? It's like like so when you quit drinking, you get Sauber, right? Or a Doberman Pinscher? No, it's Dober.
Oh yeah. So, but anyway, like I said, I have with me Danny Dober. Nice to meet you. Thank you for being on my show.
Thanks for having me, Angela. I appreciate you.
You wanna tell some folks out there a little bit about yourself before we get going about your life?
Sure. Yeah. In a nutshell, I'm from Georgia originally, and joined the Marine Corps at 31 years old, which I definitely don't recommend doing it that way at all.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, unless you got an orthopedic surgeon in your family. But they would do it earlier than that. And then, retired about this long ago, about two and a half years ago. And I've been a scuba instructor in South Florida ever since. So that's the wave tops, awesome. So to speak.
So you're staying at your sister-in-law's house?
Yeah, she's right over there, like 3.5 miles away from here. And she knows the lady who owns this place and said the message went out, hey, can you do this? She saw on Facebook. It said, hey, I was sitting right over there. She said, can you do this radio show in like an hour and a half? And I'm like, she goes, the dude's a veteran. He does a veteran show. I was like, say no more. Yeah. I'll be there.
Dude, that's awesome. So and that's I appreciate you. And I appreciate you being here. So before we get started, I always do this part of my show. If you don't listen or you've ever seen me before, what I do is I talk a little bit about veteran health. So if you're a veteran, you're watching me right now, and you're going through a crisis, you're going through a time of your life where you feel like nobody's needing you, nobody is listening to you, nobody is helping you in any sort of way. And a lot of veterans, sadly, happens to them, especially the 20, 21, 22 a day that end up taking their lives because they didn't reach out to somebody. Okay, I've personally had a lot of friends, close ones, that I get emotional thinking about because they were close. We've had arguments, we've had hugs, we've had conversations, we've had life moments together. And then after the military services, when they decided to end their life, while I was protecting their life in the military, which doesn't make any sense to me. So if you are one of those veterans, you're watching now or you're watching later on YouTube, social media apps out there, just want to let you know that I am here for you and Danny is here for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We love you. If you have problems, quit being proud, quit being selfish, quit being a stubborn piece of crap. You understand me? Quit it. Just reach out to me. I'll answer your phone call any time of day, and I will help you by any means necessary. Now, if I can't do something, I'll push you to the people that can help. One of those people is this specific phone number that was created a couple years ago, which a lot of people sadly don't know about. It's called 988. It's literally a lifeline for people. It's pretty much the hotline for suicide. So what you do is you call that number 988. You'll have the press 1 for English, press 2 for Espanol, you know. So what you do is you press that 1, and then it takes you for the first responders, military, people who are, you know, who have jobs that are highly stressful. So if you're one of those people out there, please reach out to myself or anybody else like Danny, okay, on social media and say, hey, man, what can you help me? Please help me. I'm hurting. And I don't mind talking to you for however long I need to talk to you to make sure you are of right of mind. Okay. So since my special guest is here today, what's your thoughts on people going through PTSD?
Yeah, as someone who has a 100% rating for it from the VA, I'm gonna tell you, there's absolutely no reason to suffer in silence. The resources that you just mentioned, as well as another one I've noticed a lot of vets don't know about. It is affiliated with the VA, but it's a separate facility. It's called the VET Center.
Yeah.
Those of you know, I have a cousin that was combat wounded in the Army in 05.
I have rarely brought that up, but thank you.
Dude he never even knew about it. He's been out of the Army for, I don't know, 15 years. And I told him, I was like, look, man, just go. And I looked it up for him, sent him a link. So here, call that right there. And he's getting all kinds of help, you know, through that. And that's great. There's so many other resources that are out there for guys.
Tons.
It's the, you know, and I noticed just from the time that I joined the Marine Corps in 99 until I retired 2.5 years ago, a significant change in the stigma, you know, because there was a man, if you went to the battalion aid station or medical or whatever they call it in the Army, you know, you were basically a bitch. Yeah. You know what I mean? And
that's what that was the mentality they had.
Yes, very Bushido code, you know, shame based, which can be really helpful because there are malingerers. I get it, but at the same time, there's folks that just wouldn't go, you know, and then they would rather die than face that shame. And you don't have to do that, especially if you're not in service anymore. You don't have to do it anywhere, but certainly if you're not in service anymore, man. I mean, wire brush that shit off, dude.
Man, I've had Marine friends of mine who are still proud like that. They will still not talk to anybody regardless.
Oh yeah. Yeah, man. I'm sitting here right now with a 10mm herniation in my back and a torn rotator cuff, but I'm slinging scuba tanks all day with 18-year-olds, you know, like, what the hell's wrong with you, dude? You don't have to do that anymore.
Somebody named One Blood Runner said that Danny is a true war dog.
Oh yeah,
nice.
Clearly somebody who doesn't know me, but no.
LAR in the house.
Yeah, oh, they are. Okay, it's my light armored reconnaissance guys.
Oh, nice. You have a man named Charlie Kaufman. Do you know Charlie
Kaufman? That dude we were talking about from the weather service earlier. Yeah, man.
He said he is one of the best. I've had the privilege to become a friend, and he has been a mentor for the years. Semper Fi.
Grah. Yeah, man.
The Marine Corps say hurrah, and the Army is hua. It's like the lazy version of hurrah.
Yeah, I got a nasty joke about that, but I won't do it on air. I'll tell you after.
Your sister-in-law, Amber Bass, said, tell us more about that sister-in-law of yours. She sounds amazing. We'll get to her and your family in a little bit. Okay, so you said you grew up in Georgia.
Yeah.
Where exactly did you grow up, and how was your upbringing with your family?
Yeah, it was incredibly violent and abusive, and okay,
that was a joke.
Not really though. But I grew up about an hour north of Atlanta, Georgia, Gwinnett County. It was for 4 years in a row. It was the fastest growing county in the nation, and then took a year off and did it again for 2 years. So everybody asked me, "Where'd you grow up?" I was like, "It doesn't matter. It doesn't exist anymore. They paved it. You know, it's gone."
Yeah.
But it was really pretty, really nice. Yeah. I mean, you hop, skip, and you go to Atlanta for a game or a concert or whatever. You go up in the mountains, the same distance, you know.
So it's kind of like cool. Here, like if we want to go see a Dallas Cowboys game, it's literally 45 minutes away.
Yeah,
to the Dallas Cowboys.
But the barbecue is pork there, so there's a big difference. And I have the brisket and all the good barbecue like you do.
Pork belly, I tell you what.
Yeah, man. I had some good barbecue since I've been here. Thanks to Amber, she took us around. So. Hutchins, I think Roy Hutchins. That place was awesome, dude.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're here, man. I really appreciate you spending your time here. You know, basically you're telling Texans, especially Johnson County and other surrounding counties, that there are people who are technically, because I don't like to say heroes, because you were doing your job, but you know, I can't say enough how much I appreciate people like yourselves who are the 1% who volunteered to serve our country, who actually did things for this country that paved the way for future generations, possibly in the near future. I mean, sadly, I'm not liking where our current generation's going. The younger generation before me, it seems like they've lost that mentality. If you had a little kid, a little child, a 12-year-old boy, a 9-year-old boy, he was sitting right in front of you, and he asked you, "What is a veteran, and what does it mean to be a veteran?" What would you say to him? What would you say to that little child?
Yeah, it's a good one. I would probably just remind them and let them know, because obviously they're not going to learn this in the public education system. So I'm going to have to tell a veteran is someone who at some point wrote a check, right, for the value of their life, you know, to this country.
Yes.
And redeem it at will, you know. So that's something that everybody did. I mean, I remember in the invasion, you know, of Iraq in 2003, and then later in Fallujah, they had, you know, the Marine Corps band was retasked and retrained to be the personal security detachment for the commandant of the Marine Corps. Because I mean, let's face it,
about that.
We're not doing.
They were turned into a QRF.
Pretty much, you know, pretty much. You know, they turn their tubas and skin flutes or whatever the hell they play, you know, into, or that's not really an instrument, you know what I'm talking about. But
I'm sure a few of them play the
yeah,
skin
oh
flute.
yeah, especially now that they're anyway. But these dudes were guarding the commandant of the Marine Corps, you know, because there's not a lot of ceremonies going on over there, at least not at that time. But yeah, they were everybody, and there's infantrymen like me that got, you know, shot at for a living, and they're, you know, they all wrote the same check. You know, it's just the likelihood of it getting cash was a little different depending on, you know, what you really did there. But a veteran it's something that fewer and fewer people are understanding, like, what it is, because they're not getting taught, you know, civics and history and things, unfortunately, like I wish they were. But every chance that I get, you know, I make sure that on the dive boats I work on and other places where I'm, you know, with the public, I make sure that they understand that you know, I did my time, you know, and not just to get a pat on the back or anything, but just to hopefully it'll put it in their head, you know, if they have kids or if they're younger themselves. There's been several people in that industry that have asked me, "Hey, man, you know, what do you think about this? What do you think about that?" I'm like, well, here, you're clearly asking me because you're just spinning your wheels, biding time right now, trying to figure out what the hell you want to do when you grow up, which is fine. We've all been there. I said, but you can get paid and learn skills and get all kinds of tangible and intangible benefits while you're figuring that out. You know, we're not getting that now, you know, now you're just getting what you get. But so I would definitely, you know, I share with as many people as I can, young people, to let them know that it's a very, very rewarding way to have spent a portion, if not the majority, of your young adult life.
Thank you for being a true patriot. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Seriously. Okay. So on to my next question is, how were your parents growing up? Were they tough like you just mentioned, or were they just kind of lean back, where they were like, you know what, they let you do your thing because they saw that you were a mature young man? How were you growing up?
Yeah, they didn't see that.
So they were tough.
Yeah. So I was adopted at birth. My wife and I both were.
Yeah.
And so I figured they told me at probably the worst age you can tell somebody, which is like 8 years old for me. So, you know, just old enough to kind of be able to employ critical thinking and a little sensitive maybe at that age. But my dad, so in 2003 in the invasion of Iraq, I carried the same K-bar combat knife that he did in Vietnam.
Oh, nice.
And then that my grandfather carried in World War II. So it was kind of just something I always had to do, you know, I felt like I needed to do, but I got busy living life and stuff like that. And I was getting older and realized, man, it's now or never. But yeah, they were tough. They had to be, you know, everybody was tough back then, you know, compared to now. But
everybody's
I got my ass
sensitive
beat
now.
on the reg.
Everybody's sensitive now. Everybody.
Yeah, for sure. My mom's a retired school teacher, math teacher from the state of Georgia.
I think they're the real heroes. Seriously.
Yeah, man, I could tell you that we put most of the gray hairs on her head. The lady was just, oh man, the stuff she had to deal with. But because I had her for 7th grade, and then she moved up to 8th grade And that's because that town didn't have a red light, man. She was the math teacher. You had her.
There's a man named Mitchell McIvey.
Mitchell McVeigh. Yeah.
McVeigh. Oh,
no relation.
Okay.
Yeah, no relation. Especially in this, you got to say it in this part of the country.
McVeigh. Well,
too soon.
Danny enlisted 2 years prior to me. We both started off with two Echo Command, or I guess
2nd Battalion, 2nd Marines Echo
Platoon,
Company.
2nd Squad. We deployed to Iraq during the kickoff of the second Gulf War. I truly respect this man. Same with me. I was there in 2003 during the shock and awe. I was in Baghdad Airport when a lot of heroic stuff was going down.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I did things that I don't regret to this day because I needed to do it at the time, because in order to serve my country. But and also Rachel Ray said, "Don't be scared, Angelo. You can say hero. That's what they are. Thank you, Danny, and every other hero out there."
Is that Rachel Ray, the cooking lady?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so.
Oh man!
Imagine if it was.
You're a big deal, dude.
Imagine if it was.
Yeah.
It's probably some really local. Somebody probably.
She probably cooks good too, though.
Yeah. And another, the Blood Runner 1 also said, Hester, Root, Dumai, Jones, and Dober are LAR legends, OIF and OEF.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, that's actually cool, that's actually pretty good. And Larry Cloud says
Larry Dean Cloud.
Yeah, we was together in 99 to 2003.
We was. That's my main
now
man from Louisiana.
Where Louisiana?
Yeah.
That sounds like something Louisiana.
Yeah,
would
his
say.
dream. So you get as you're an infantryman, or it doesn't matter what you are, you go to the field, right? You got a lot of time.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Yeah, you're busy when you're busy, but when you're not, you have never imagined this level of boredom. So all kinds of weird conversations ensue. And I remember, Larry Dean Cloud, man, he's a true coon ass, man, from Louisiana. And this dude, all he wanted to do was get out, because everybody always talked about nobody's staying in, right? We're all getting out. And he's what are you going to do when you get out, Larry Dean Cloud? He just wanted to go back to dig logs out of the Sabine River in Louisiana with his petrified logs and make tables.
Dude,
tops
they can
out
make
of them.
good money.
Dude,
out of
they
that.
do, man. We always laughed at him, but then once Google became it, you could start looking shit up. And you're like,
YouTube
these
videos,
dudes are getting paid, man. We used to. I wanted to send him a note, man. I'm sorry, dude. I didn't believe in you, but yeah, Larry Dean, man, he was a. Hey, I just want to let you know, if you're out there listening, man, I love you, Larry Dean.
Yeah, I think it's protocol. A lot of times when a lot of young enlisted soldiers and even officers, when they're about to get out, usually the command is always saying, "There's nothing out there for you. Just stay in. Just re-enlist. Just stay in." Why do they do that?
Oh, dude, let me tell you. Because they want to scare you into staying in. I remember I almost got out. I was within 10 days of going on. I actually extended my terminal leave date because I wasn't 100% sure what I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I remember going to separations classes. They got to make you
go.
Yeah,
they do. Where they make the checklist.
Yeah, just checking a box here, man. Just so Congress, when you blow your head off, Congress can't fuck with us. But so I went in there, and the dude was like, "All right, how many of you guys are mechanics?" And they raised their hands and go, "You're going to be all set. How many of you guys are aviation guys or work on airplanes?
Yeah.
You're really set, man. You're going to work at Delta like next week for $1 million a minute." And then they're like, "How many of y'all are grunts? Infantrymen?"
Yep.
And some of us put our hands up, and the guy's like, "You're screwed. All right, you can be a fireman, a cop, or a mercenary, but that's it. So you better plan on going to school." And I was like, "Wow, that's pretty motivating, dude." And so
how does somebody like yourself end up a scuba diving instructor? Instructor.
So I was part of it was I had a plan when I went in the Marine Corps, right?
Yeah.
I had been to Montana. I was self-employed before,
and
I loved to hunt and fish out there, but I'd only been in there in the spring, summer, and the fall. Never been in the winter. And then so my plan was join the Marine Corps, do 20 years, retire, and then go to Montana and be a hunting and fishing guide. Well, in 2004, the Marine Corps sent me on recruiting duty for the first time in upstate New York, in Binghamton, New York. And if you've never been there, don't. And so I never imagined it could be that cold or it could snow that much. So I had to adjust the latitude of my plan.
Yeah.
All right, I'm not going there. So I started thinking about, the other things I like to do, which I love to water. And so I just moved that from latitude, way up here to 26 down where I'm at now. And I'm in Fort Lauderdale. But we have a place in the Keys too. So I loved it. Went there in 93 for the first time and just went out to the reef, and I was like, holy cow, man, I can't believe this is in America,
Oh, wow.
And it's just, I've been really blessed to be able to do that. And I started working at, and I remember I had an epiphany. I came back from Afghanistan. My wife and I were in St. Lucia, and there was like 10 of us on the boat. She's laying out at the pool. She doesn't do any of that stuff. But so we were down there, and I remember it was me and like 8 or 9 other guys, you know, Canadians, Japanese people, and then this St. Lucian kid. All the dives are guided, right? And we're going down 130 feet and then up, zigzag back to the top on this cliff. Is beautiful. And I'm thinking, I heard my uncle's voice when I was a kid. He said, I was like 8 years old, sitting on his knee on a tractor in the farm. And he's like, "What are you going to do when you grow up, boy?" I said, "I don't know, man. I'm freaking 8." You know, he goes, "Well, I'll tell you what, do this. If you can figure out what it is you love to do most in the world that you'd pay money to do, find out if you can make a living doing that. And then you won't ever work a day in your life." And I thought about it right then. I was in the water, St. Lucia. Remember my uncle saying that. And I looked at that kid up there. I was like, you know what? I'm paying $7,000 to be here for a week. And that kid up there, he's getting paid.
You know,
I don't think he's getting paid very much, but he's getting paid. And so I went and I researched it, and tuition assistance will actually at that time would pay for you to go all the way up through your dive master certification.
Oh, really?
So my buddy Charlie from Naval Air Station Key West, or National Weather Service in Key West, that was on there a minute ago, he and I did that program together. And then I had to take a break because I got sent to California, you know, and did the whole geographical bachelor thing. And my wife was in legal for the Marine Corps. I came back in 2015. So during the course of the dive master class, I realized I didn't want to be a scuba instructor. I did not, because it was so groundhog repetitive. But the dive master stuff was kind of cool because I got to work the ops side of the boat. I got to guide people, all the fun stuff. So I decided I'd do that, and I will run a boat. So in 2015, Charlie and I again did our captain's license together. And then he moved to Key West in like 16 or 17.
That's the ultimate place to go to.
Yeah, man.
That's like everybody's dream. If you can find property there, go.
Dude. But I tell you, man, the Marine Corps, for my Twilight tour, they got me on recruiting duty again. But I was a command sergeant major of the South Florida, Puerto Rico, and Virgin Islands Marine Corps recruiting activity. So it was really perfect. They sent me there because I could network my ass off and meet a lot of cool people, which I have, and just do what I love to do, man, and then transition easily out of the Marine Corps that way, which was great, you know. So and that's how I got into it down there. Yeah.
If you're now just tuning in, my name is Angelo Rocha. I'm the host of Vet for Vets. This here is Danny Dober. He's my veteran guest of the day, and we're basically discussing his life before, during, and after military service. Our show wants to say thanks for tuning in for every one of you all. Okay, be sure to download our app on Android and Apple and subscribe to support all our local hosts. And also, thanks. And basically, people are just saying, thank you for your service. Thank you for being who you are and for being an incredible human being. So how did you end up here from Key West? It's not
in Texas.
Yeah. Like,
oh yeah. My sister-in-law lives down the street.
Okay. What's the reasoning? There's got to be a reason.
She's a lawyer and she can work from anywhere. And they grew up kind of, because her dad was a Marine as well. And they grew up some in California, because when he got out, he went to work for LAPD and they were there. And then he moved back to Oklahoma, where he is from, and they spent most of their formative years there, I suppose. And then she's right down the street, and so we had 2 Boston Terriers, all right, for about 12 and a half years. My mom raised them and just always had them, and they passed away. You know, dogs will die eventually, but it was so we miss them, man, a lot. You know, and she's got these 2 little knucklehead French bulldogs, right, and they're like pretty much same kind of breed, very similar. And so Lisa and my wife and I were just talking about month or two ago. It was like, hey, we don't have any plans for Thanksgiving, you know, whatever. We had just been up to Georgia and visited everybody because of these weddings we had to go to. And she were like, let's go see the boys and Amber, you know, and play with the dogs. And so we came here to visit, and her mom is here as well. So.
Have you done anything fun since you've been here?
Yeah, play with the dogs a lot. And then that's the most fun. And then we went to that place, Roy Hutchins, I think barbecue is called. It was pretty far, but it was totally worth it, man.
There's 1,000 barbecue places within like half a mile of here.
Yeah, we were going to go to. We're flying out early in the morning, but we were going to go to today to the Pembroke Lake. Is that a place? Something nearby. We were going to do that, nice, but we didn't make it because they all were working and stuff. So.
Well, thank you for making it yourself, available to be on my show. Despite the fact that you're here for pretty much for Thanksgiving, so I thank you for that. Okay, so we're gonna be going to break in a little bit. I just want to mention that if you're watching now or later, Joko is an actual real radio station. A lot of people are under the perception that we're some kind of podcast. We're not a podcast. Yes, we have the mentality or the look of a podcast, but we're not. We are a real radio station. A lot of people are surprised when they come into our radio station. They're like, holy crap, this is an actual radio station, because they think it's somebody's house or somebody's kitchen or something like that. So what actually enticed you to be on here? Was it just because you just like, you know
you're
what,
a veteran?
I'm here? Is that what?
Yeah, I mean, my sister-in-law knows the lady, that has this place, and she's put it out on Facebook, I guess, or something, and said, "Hey, this dude needs, help because the other guest he had bailed, and he's a veteran. It's a veterans-oriented show." And I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, we're going to be able to eat before I go, right?" And she's like, "Yeah." So we're in there hustling, getting the food together and everything. It's great.
Oh, that's great.
I slammed it down and came over here.
Yeah, I usually try to find guests weeks in advance. Sometimes things happen, and I get it, and I'm glad you stepped in because it really, really helps me out a lot. So that way I don't have to wing it for a whole hour.
That's what we do, man.
Yeah, man, I tell you what, this is pretty incredible. So I got to ask you, so you said your parents were kind of tough. You were adopted. That's great, and I'm quite sure it doesn't matter if you're adopted. Your parents are your parents, okay?
Yeah.
So what kind of kid were you growing up in high school?
I was a terrible kid.
Were you a terrible kid?
Awful, man.
You don't seem like it right now.
No. I mean, it's.
I guess you've changed.
It got expensive, It got really expensive, and so I sorted it out. I've actually been sober for 33 years, and so by the grace of God, and one day at a time. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, you come home though, man, to a note, and you're adopted. You never met your biological father before, and you come home to a note, and it says, 4:00 in the morning, you're wasted, and you're trying to read the note. What the hell does this say? I can't take this shit anymore. P.S. I took the baby. You get sober real quick, and then you have to make a decision where you want to stay that way. And so I did.
So Tony Yetman said, Danny's influence runs far and wide. His cousin always looked up to Danny as a hero and is now himself a lieutenant in the Army.
Yeah, I remember that's my uncle. That, on my
name drop anybody you want while you're on the show. Anybody.
On my biological side. So my biological mother, I met when I was 18 years old.
Yeah.
That's her brother, my uncle. And so he has a son. He had kids a little later in life than I did, and which would be true for most folks. And his son and I have the same birthday. His son was born 31 years to the day after me, and I gave him his first salute at the University of North Georgia as a second lieutenant in the Army about a year and a half ago.
My heart, because that means a lot. Somebody me being very military. I mean, very pro-American, very pro-patriot. It just warms my heart when I hear stuff like that. Absolutely,
great kid, Ben Yetman, second lieutenant in the Army. Yeah, he's killing it. He's doing great.
Amber said, "Oh, thanks for the record. It was you that put the notice out, not Tiffany."
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I get the admin stuff confused sometimes.
Yeah, I know, it's okay. I did.
It's mostly because I don't care.
Yeah, I was the one that put it out because and also I don't like to name drop the people that show up because eventually they come back on a couple weeks later, But anyway, if you're listening to me before I can go commercial break, if you're interested, if you're a veteran or a spouse of a veteran. Doesn't matter if you're Johnson County. If you want to mention something about yourself, please reach out to me on social media. I have literally platforms on every one of them. So anyway, my name is Angelo Rocha. This is Vet for Vets. We're about to go to commercial break. Okay, this show is not over. Come back where Danny and I will discuss his time in boot camp, his time at MEPS, and all the other bullshit that we go through as a veteran. Okay, love you guys. We'll be right back.
Let's be honest. Wheelchairs are heavy, bulky, and ugly. If you carry a wheelchair in your car to take care of a loved one, you know how hard it is getting that clunky, old-style wheelchair in and out of your car. Introducing the Feather Chair Wheelchair. At 13 pounds, it's the world's lightest wheelchair. It folds in seconds and fits neatly in your trunk, backseat, or closet, so you can take it everywhere. And it's only available right here. Order yours today and get a free wheelchair case, a $50 value, yours free. The Feather Chair, the world's lightest wheelchair, is just $4.99 with easy payments as low as $16 a month. Sorry, no Medicare or insurance accepted. So call right now to order yours.
800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. That's 800-823-5826.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
I love that. That was Tiffany's choice. She picked that song. Welcome back to Vet for Vets, the show where I take veterans of all sorts, shapes, and sizes, and we discuss their life before, during, and after the military service. Today, I have with me a very special guest all the way from Florida, Fort Lauderdale / Key West, Danny Dober.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Before we get started on our second half of the show, and thank you to all you folks out there that are watching live or are watching later, just let you know, Joco Community Radio is proud to be the voice of Johnson County, Texas, and is live 24/7 on the TuneIn Radio Network. TuneInJoco.com is the place to find all the ways to listen and watch, and the station app is also available for free on Android and Apple devices. Simply go to your store and search for it. Check out our lineup and more at JocoCommunityRadio.com. This episode and more are brought to you by Next Level Claims, making your insurance work for you. Reach out to your Texas sales rep at 844-TEX-HAIL. That's HAIL. A lot of people who are not from Texas, they're like, is it hell? Like, because the Southern accent, Southern folks say hell, hail.
Praise Dale, raise hell.
That's 844-839-4245. Be sure to dress your arms and more at thetiffy.com. TheTiffie.com. Christmas is coming up. If you're thinking about getting your wife or your spouse something really interesting or some kind of unique gift, go to thetiffy.com. That's Tiffany's personal website. She sells a lot of really great little trinkets and other stuff on there. Okay, cool. So we're back to our show. I just want to let you know that you're listening to Vet for Vets. If you're just now tuning in. So GF, whoever that is, I don't know who GF is, maybe a friend of yours. GF says, I'm fortunate to call Dober my friend. We have been through it all. Two warlords.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And then one blood runner said, OP Dan, memories just came back. He said, Patrick Milligan said, get after it. Sergeant Major, miss you. And Lisa like crazy. Semper Gumby.
Go Dogs.
What does that mean? Semper Gumby. What's the story behind
Semper Gumby. So do you remember the Saturday Night Live, Eddie Murphy played the character?
I do, Gumpy.
I'm Gumby, damn it.
Yeah.
Remember him? So he was like really flexible and rubbery over there. Yeah. So because things change so quickly and so frequently in the Marine Corps, instead of Semper Fidelis, which is the actual motto, Latin for always faithful, we would say Semper Gumby, which means always flexible.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Go Dogs, Patrick said.
Go Dogs, yes.
If
go for the three-peat.
You are more than welcome. You can message us. You can talk to us on social media or whatever social media you can find on the internet and reach out to us. We'll try to respond and answer your questions. If you have any questions for Danny, just ask and I'll ask Danny and maybe he can answer it. Don't say stuff like, hey, what's your favorite sex position? Don't say that. We're talking about, hey, what's your favorite color?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
I don't care. Ask me whatever.
We're not going to say it. Just ask actual questions that maybe Danny might be able to let you know. Maybe related to military, maybe related to veterans, which is what ultimately this show is about. So we're on to our second half. You're graduated from high school. There's a period when after you graduate high school and there's probably 11, 12-year gap in there. What were you doing between?
It was a long time.
Yeah.
13, 14 years as a tax-paying civilian before I set foot on in a recruiting station.
Yeah.
And so I was my daughter, I got divorced very young and my daughter got moved across country. And every year at the end of the summer when I would have to put her on a plane, far away, then it was a sad day. You know, it was a very, very sad day.
I'm in that boat. I understand.
Yeah, so you get it. And so one day I was sitting in an L-shaped strip mall like this, and I was looking across. It was my birthday. It was in August, and I just put my daughter
What
on
day
a plane.
in August?
24th.
Oh, mine's 22nd.
Nice.
Oh, no.
Nice. Yes. And I put her on a plane, and I was bummed out. So I went to the all-you-can-eat country buffet with a good friend of mine, advisor, older fellow that I took advice from, and he just cheers me up, you know. So I was sitting there just throwing down on country fried steak and gravy, fried okra, all that, you know, typical Georgia food. And I was looking across the thing, and it said U.S. Marines on that building over there. And I thought, you know what, man, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna finish eating, I'm gonna walk over there, and I'm gonna let them laugh me out of the building. I'll never think of it again. I'll go to the bank when I leave here. I'll get a small business loan for like $2.5 million, and I'll grow this thing huge, sell it, and then just play the rest of my life. You know, that was the plan A and plan B.
Gotcha.
So I went in there, and the dude was like, "Hey, yeah, I don't know. Nobody your age ever walked in here before. Hold on." And then so he called this somebody, the headquarters, I guess. He says, "Yes, sir. No, sir. Well, he looks like he's in decent shape to me, sir. Okay, we're on our way." And remember, I have a belly full of grease, right? It's late August in Georgia. It's 150,000 degrees outside and 200% humidity. And this dude was like, "Hey, man, can you run a PFT right now?" I was like, "What the hell is a PFT?" He goes, "Physical fitness test. Can you do all these pull-ups, bunch of crunches, and run 3 miles?" And I'm like, man, I haven't ran since the, you know, early mid 80s, you know, when the cops were chasing me a lot. And he's like, I said, "I'm wearing steel toe work boots. I got blue jeans on and a long sleeve shirt." I'm like, not really the best running stuff. And he reaches back because he had soccer later. He pulls these soccer cleats out, size like 14. He goes, "You can wear these." And I was like, "Dude, I wear a size 9 shoe." But I was like, you know what? Who cares? Let's go. So we go over there, and I do, I don't know, 14 pull-ups, I guess. I do enough crunches. And then he says, "Let's go." And we took off on the run. And at some point, I just put all that country fried steak on the deck, you know, yeah, man, it shot that shit like 20 feet. And then I finished with puke all over me and sweat and everything. And the dude slaps me on the back. He goes, "He's good." And I'm like, what does that mean? He's like, "Oh, he's good. When you want to go to boot camp?" I'm like, whoa, slow down, killer. I got a job. I got employees. I got to find jobs for. I got to sell a house, equipment. So it took me about 2 months to do all that. I said I will go in 4 months, and I did. And I took off, man. And the rest is kind of history. So
where'd you go to boot camp?
Parris Island. Anybody east of the Mississippi goes to Parris Island, South Carolina. Yeah.
Nice. So, so you said you're going to be an infantryman, right?
Yeah.
So where did you go for your training? Same location?
Nope. Boot camp. You graduate there, Parris Island or San Diego, if you're on the West Coast. And then you go for the East Coast guys. We go to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, Camp Geiger. You go to School of Infantry there. And I always wanted to be an infantryman because I was a big hunter. Fisherman and outdoorsman, and so for me it was just a natural fit. I just couldn't see myself sitting in some shop or some office or anything like that. So I just said, "Hey man, I'll be a grunter. I ain't to be nothing, you know." And the dude was like, "All right, cool, sign right here." And I went, and then I went up there for training. And really, my field craft, to be honest with you, was a little bit beyond where the average recruit was because I'd spent so much time in the bush, you know, growing up. And so, because we weren't allowed inside back then, you know, I mean, if you had to come home for dinner, but other than that, stay your ass outside. So it was a perfect fit for me.
That's man, that's awesome. Do you remember anything about your basic training?
The one thing I do remember was one of the drone instructors was like 26 years old, right? And I was 31, which he probably didn't dig that too much. This guy was kind of a maniac, and we were doing dips on our foot lockers, just because, you know, somebody left a shoe the wrong way. And so we were just getting thrashed. And then this guy's walking up and down the middle of the squad bay, and he's picking on everybody. He's like, "Oh, this guy, that guy, you know, sucks because of this guy sucks because of that, whatever." And he gets to me and he goes, "You know, we're halfway through boot camp at this point." He goes, "And then there's Dober, his ass ain't put out the whole damn cycle." And I don't know where it came from, but you got the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other. The devil was like, "Say this," you know, as if it were Jack Daniels or something. And I was like, "Bullshit, motherfucker." And he's like, this dude dropped his shoulder, man. And he came across and dude off the third turnbuckle, man. And just wow. And he flipped me like 5 kids down the road. And I landed with the footlocker of that kid after I knocked him off his fucker. His landed right in the middle of my back and just cut me open about that much. And it was a grapefruit sized bruise real quick. Well, that all went down like right before hygiene time. And this dude, he messed with me a lot, and all throughout boot camp. So I got out of the shower, and one of the other guys he said, "Hey, man, did you see what he did to you?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And so he had like the little mirror with the camouflage paint, so I could see, and it was big. So I went to the drill instructor area, and I rapped on the hatch, and he's looked up and he goes, "What?" And I turned around, did a about face, and he could see the big what he did to me, and I turned around because they're not supposed to do stuff like that.
They're not
and
supposed
even back
to.
then,
Yeah.
And so he looked at it. I turned around, his eyes were like that big, and I just did a left face and marched off as if to say, "Hey, man, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the line. Don't do anything." And that guy never messed with me again the whole rest of the cycle.
Drill sergeant did that to me in basic. He was coming out of the chow hall and he shoved me, and I literally fell over a handrail and landed in the dirt. And he was, as soon as he did that, he was like, "Oh crap!" And he came out, ran off the side, picked me up. He's like, "Sorry, Private, I didn't apologize." I'm like, "Dude, even though I'm only an 18-year-old kid, you still can't. I know you can't do that. That's freaking BS."
And before the whole drill instructor cult jumps on the net here and starts saying, look, I could never have been a Marine drill instructor. I couldn't have been any drill instructor. I volunteered for recruiting duty for a reason.
Yeah.
Because I would have probably made it about 6 minutes into the first cycle, and I would have probably put a kid's face through a mirror or something. But your recruiting duty has its own challenges. But just before that mafia, starts what I know they do, and let's cancel this guy.
Man, I watch YouTube videos of drill instructors and drill sergeants just go after these privates, because a lot of these young kids, they become them later on. And it's great to just absolutely demolish them early on, because a lot of them are cocky. A lot of them think they know everything, and these drill instructors are there to break them down and then build them up as a team.
Sure.
And I think that's okay. But when you do stuff like you're talking about, where you injured them, it kind of takes away that whole persona. It just makes them just seem like they're an abuser instead of being a father figure for these young soldiers.
Oh, for sure. But then you bring them into your little office later, and you give them, a double cheeseburger from Hardee's, which, or whatever fixes it. It's just like the abusive father's like, why I beat you, right? Yeah, because I suck.
Yeah. I remember the drill instructor that was in charge of all the instructors brought me into the office. "Are you okay, Private?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." He's like, "I've had way worse bad from my dad."
Oh man,
my dad was a really good dad. He really punished me as a kid if I did something wrong. And so I understood. It's like, no, I get it, but just that's BS though. It's like, come on, he literally flipped me over the damn handrail, man.
Oh yeah, man.
So. Okay, Rachel Ray said, "Was there a large gap in the maturity level when you got to the fleet as one of the older guys in the company?" Question from Cap.
Oh yeah. So Rachel Ray. Okay, well, now I know who I'm listening to. Okay.
Is this code name for a SEAL team? A SEAL team member?
No. This is the wife of a very good friend of mine, and we went to their wedding last month in North Carolina. So I didn't know who it was, but there was a huge maturity gap, and it was difficult for me. It was not physically challenging because I'd always been hardworking and outside, working in landscaping all those years and farming and playing sports and stuff. So it really wasn't physically that difficult for me, but it was extremely challenging emotionally when you're dealing with people, who are 10 years junior to you, and they're in charge of you. And that's tough. And most of them respected that because back then they were raised to respect people just inherently, that were older than them. And I was the same age as a lot of my leadership, my platoon and company leadership was the same age as me. So as long as I was doing my job, I had it pretty easy, to be honest with you, because I didn't give them any reason to mess with me. And again, they didn't really feel like that. Believe me, as I went up in the ranks and I realized, and you get the big peek behind the curtain, man, they had plenty of other shit to deal with besides me. So I didn't have to worry about it. But Rachel's husband, Joe LaCapria, he's a great American, a true patriot and hero in his own right. He's done an awful lot of stuff, great stuff that I don't need to talk about too much in detail. This country, but they're solid folks, and I love them to death.
Tiffany Little says that Danny is the best. Well, I'm quite sure
she's clearly not seen me do much. So. No, Tiff, she's a retired Navy corpsman.
Oh, nice.
And a good friend of ours as well, and a great American, and she's one of the funniest people I've ever met.
Thank you, Tiffany. Patrick Milligan said drill instructor Dober.
No.
Well, that's the reason why I left the Army, because I had done my 10 years of service, and they came up to me and they're like, "Hey, we'll promote you to E7 if you stay." We'll get you the packet. We'll get you. And then the one thing I didn't mind if they told me I was going to go to drill instructor academy or drill sergeant academy, but then they were like, hey, we're going to make you a recruiter. As soon as they said they're going to make me a recruiter, that was the one job that's literally the hardest job in the military.
Yeah,
because it's hard to find good people. It sucks, and it's very stressful on the brain. And as soon as they said that, I was like, no, I'm out. I'm gone.
Yeah, I've been to the Horn of Africa, Kosovo, Iraq, and Afghanistan, all multiple times each, and there's nothing more difficult than recruiting duty.
It's hard.
You're talking to people like your opposition is every influencer that they've had their entire life. And
pretty much.
And you just, depending on what's going on in the world, you may or may not be up against some pretty challenging circumstances to try to. And the thing is, everything you've done in your career up to that point is on the line, because if you fail at that, especially in the Marine Corps, it's a what have you done for me lately kind of thing. It's like, I know you did all this cool shit, and heroic achievement in combat, blah blah blah, whatever the citation says. But if you don't talk 2 people out of 4 years of their life in the next 30 days, that's gonna be your ass.
I know.
So it's a very stressful thing.
You've mentioned your wife a couple of times during our little chit chat session. You want to maybe delve a little
sure.
like how you met her, kids?
I appreciate you pimping that. That one was definitely one I got a note on before this thing ends to say, we met when we were in the 5th grade in a small town in Georgia that didn't even have a red light.
Yeah.
And because they moved to my town.
Yeah.
She was adopted. That's how they did it back then. They'd wheel her, they walk her, like did wheel her. She's not in a wheelchair. They'd walk her in, and they'd say, "This is Lisa. She's adopted." I'm like, what?
Okay.
Who introduces people like that? But they did, and so I was like, "Oh, cool," And I just remember her little blonde piggy tails and her little white halter top and little blue jeans shorts that she had, and I was like, "Oh man, I got to have that." In the 5th grade, I was a little early bloomer, I guess.
That's all we think about when we're in 5th grade.
And then as time went on, and she just got prettier and prettier and smarter and funnier, and I definitely made it my mission. So we hung out a little bit after we were both married and divorced in the early 90s. And then we when you're an infantry Marine and 19 Islamic fascist psychos turn 4 of our airplanes into guided missiles and incinerate 3,000 of our citizens, you start to contemplate your mortality in a very mighty way. And you start thinking about the people that you wish you would have spent more time with. So we hadn't spoken in like 10 years because just life took us in different directions. And then I was walking down a catwalk in the barracks one day, and there was this kid named Johnson. Nobody had computers. This guy did.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I walked by, I was on duty, and I looked in his room and I said, "Hey man," he said, "classmates.com." I said, "What the hell is that?" He goes, "Oh, this is where you can find people you used to go to school with."
Yeah.
I said, "Get up, bitch." And I sat down and I typed her stuff in there, and
she popped up.
Yeah. I said, basically, hey, look, unless you've been living in a cave in Afghanistan for the last, however long, you got to know this is what's going on. And I'm about to get real busy here, but I just wanted you to know that you're at the top of the list of people I wish I'd have spent more time with. Yeah. And if you do get this message, you can call me at this number. And 20 minutes later, the phone went off, and it was her. Yeah. And I was like, holy shit, it worked. And so we took off pretty quick after that, and stayed fantastic. Gone. And she would send me like the nice smelly letters, with the perfume on them and the different things, to eat and whatnot, but which was great. And then I tried like hell to link up with her, but it was not until I went to recruiting duty the first time. So the school is in San Diego. She was living in Vegas at the time. So I just went up there and
drove.
As soon as it was dark by the time I got there, but as soon as the headlights of the truck swept across her, she was standing outside. I was just like, damn, man, that's where I should have been the whole time right there, and the rest is just history. It's been, be 20 years next year that we've been married. So
kids,
she put up with a lot. Nope. She endured numerous combat deployments where friends of mine were getting killed, and she just never knew, when it was going to be her turn. And, so she's done great. She's finished her bachelor's and her master's while I was on active duty. She's, she's just great at everything she does.
That's
put up with a whole lot.
That's fantastic. Are there anybody when you were serving before you got promoted to command sergeant major or sergeant major? You said command sergeant.
Yeah, there's only one.
That's
kind of
true.
Yeah.
Okay, well, because in the army it's different.
Yeah. It's sergeant major, but every sergeant major in the Marine Corps is
were there any people that you remember being a big influence or a big supporters of you that you feel like, you know what, they were like a father figure to you or somebody like that?
Yeah, like a big brother. I'm the oldest of 3, so there was a guy named you just knocked your water over, bro. I hope it don't matter.
It's okay, it was empty.
But there was a guy named Sean Kirk, and he and all the 2-2, the 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marine guys that know who this guy is. I had to give his wife a folded flag in Durango, Colorado in 2012. But I tell you, the church, they had to open the windows so the people outside could see in because you couldn't even fit another human being in there. And he was an amazing guy. And I remember learning so much about counseling and coaching and mentoring from this guy, because a lot of times in the Marine Corps, back then anyway, it was just the knife hand is all they had. That was the only leadership tool in the toolbox was the knife hand, and other types of, physical hazing. But this dude had like to an art form, I mean, he could look you in the eye and tell you, you know what, man, there's no limit to how far you can go in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
No limit. You could be the sergeant major of the Marine Corps one day. And you'd believe it. The guy could not just say it, but he'd make you believe
he was
that
charismatic.
Yeah, man, he was amazing. We would go on these long like death runs, right? And because it was his job to make sure we were in shape. And this dude was like RoboCop, man. He had a brace on like everything you can have a brace. And we would run. They called it Tour de French Creek because there was an area called French Creek. And he'd run us around. We'd hit every pull-up bar on the way. It was like a 6-mile run. And he'd tell you before he takes off, everybody got to have their dog tags on. And if I pass you, you got to give me yours.
Yeah.
And if I still have them, at the end, he goes, now, if you pass me back, I'll give them back to you. But whoever's dog tags I still got at the end of this run, we're doing this shit again.
Oh,
and it was like just little stuff. He was extremely creative,
That's actually pretty smart.
Yeah. But he didn't make it. So I miss him all the time. And so does everybody else that ever knew him. He was very special. Probably one of the single greatest influencers in my life. But certainly number 1 in the Marine Corps. Gunnery Sergeant Sean Kirk.
Yeah, sounds like you got a little emotional there. I've had a few share of people like that too, is where I've made a connection with them and then sadly they passed away. So I understand where you're coming from.
But I did every day from the point. So I was the same rank that he was when he died, when I buried him, and I was a gunnery sergeant, and I always tried to make sure that he lived on through me, And when I retired, I wore one of his shirts, and it said Kirk SC right here, in the back collar. So I carried on for him best I could till the very last day.
Okay, if you can tell the audience or the people listening now or later, what was the worst experience you had throughout your tenure as a military man? What would be the worst experience? You don't have to go into detail.
That one I just described. Yeah, when I had to go to Colorado and give his wife Kathy the flag. That was rough.
It's tough.
It was exceptionally difficult.
I've been to many of those. I know that folded flag. Oh
yeah, I've given a whole bunch of them out. That one was the worst though. And the funeral home idiots, they weren't supposed to put his uniform on until I assembled it for him. And they went ahead and put his dress blue coat on him without his ribbons and medals. So I had to put them on, and I had to reach in there and put the turtles on the back, and I touched his cold skin. I was like, fuck. That was the worst probably thing of all the things. And there were a lot of things.
Okay, if you can think back while military life, we're not talking about your personal life. If you can think back of maybe one of the proudest moments of your military career, what would that be?
Man, I don't know. I was so awesome. It's just hard to know. I'm kidding.
Hey, nothing wrong with being positive. That's good.
No, I don't.
There's got to be a moment that sticks out in your head. Anything that made you recall.
I'll be honest with you. Like getting promoted, I got promoted to gunnery sergeant in Afghanistan in 2009, and there was one of my really best friends is a Navy chaplain named Ray Rivers, great guy. And he actually pinned me on, to the rank that my hero was, in Afghanistan in 2009. It was kind of a really cool moment to get that. Cause really anything after that, I remember when I got selected to first sergeant, I just pulled out a notepad from my cargo pocket and was like, these are all the people I'm going to tell to go pound sand later today, and then when I got promoted to sergeant major, the list wasn't quite as long, but it was because, but I was like, they just screwed up now, because I can't ever get promoted again. Now I'm going to tell everybody.
That's it.
And that's what I did.
If there was one thing you regret, maybe you wish you could change, what would that be? A lot of people, I've had people on here talk about they wish they
You
had
mean
a better
if I could change anything in the world?
If anything, you can change anything that involves your life.
Of
What
my
could you
life.
change? Yes.
Oh, okay.
Some people say I wish I didn't get married. Some people say I
Yeah,
wish
no,
I
I
had a
definitely
better
wouldn't
relationship
say
with my
that.
kid.
No, I hit the jackpot on that one. I do wish I had a better relationship with my daughter sometimes. She's just millennial as fuck. And so I just
Amen. I know exactly the feeling.
yeah, it's hard, man. She's a nurse. I love her to death. She's got a huge heart. But there's just a sense of entitlement there sometimes. And I hope she's not listening to this shit. But it's just you ask me, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I
My
wished I
daughter
had a
the
better
same
relationship with her.
thing. My daughter is the same way. She's the same mentality. But the thing is, I still love her to death. Still love her. I still do whatever I needed to do to protect her. So another question I have for you is, if you could tell somebody right now, dead or alive, something that you didn't get a chance to tell them, what would you tell them? It could be anybody, dead or alive.
Okay.
If he was sitting right here in front of you, and
Hmm.
it's okay. I've had people cry on my show before. If you cry, it's okay. Don't be that proud. Because I get emotional thinking about if I had people that in my life who I can talk to, like my grandfather.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't really. I have an uncle. The one I was sitting on his Uncle Gordon. I was sitting on his knee on a tractor when he asked me what I was going to be when I grew up, and he passed recently in the last couple of months, and you know, I didn't really get a chance. I should have done a better job of probably letting him know how much I really appreciated his kindness.
Yeah.
In a fairly mean world, this dude was super. My wife got a chance to meet him, which was great. And he was a big him and his son is like I'm the oldest of three, so his son Tracy, my first cousin, was a big influencer, and he was very much like his father, my uncle. And so I wish I could have spent a little more time just letting him know how much I appreciated all the good times we had, on that farm growing up.
Depending on the type of person you are, religious or not religious, maybe somewhere out there he's looking down and you're listening to this right now,
No doubt.
saying thank you.
I'll see him again. I just didn't get to tell him on this plane.
Some people don't believe it. Some people do. A lot of religious people listen to my show because, it's Burleson. Burleson's a very Christian town, very Catholic town, very religious.
They're going to love my mouth.
Yeah. So Charlie Kaufman pretty much said the same question I asked. Who was the most influential leader during your service, and how has that relationship helped you become the leader you are today? But you already said that.
Yeah.
Look, sadly, our show is over.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Danny. Hopefully, safe travels back to Georgia, or excuse me, Florida. Everybody, this has been Vet for Vets. My name is Angelo. Thank you for listening. And here's my veteran guest, Danny Dober. You have yourself a good night.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, Joco Community Radio.
If you are trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it